And then went to Georgia, and I knew nothing about Georgia. Georgia is one of the old Russian republics, and Zali had reached out and asked Themis if he could ask me to come. And as we were talking, I said, when I come, just use me up. I'll teach, I'll do whatever you want. And he'd say, well, I'm more hungry for relationship. And I'd feel like, well, sure, we're going to hang together. It's going to be great. But, you can schedule as many meetings. And he'd be like, yeah, you'll teach. We're really hungry for relationship. And I didn't really get it until I went. This is Pastor Zal. He's a nuclear physicist, was taken into Russia to work in their labs during the USSR, and was working there in 91 when the Berlin Wall came down. His wife, Nino, has 2 degrees, and they have no money because they were a Russian republic, no pensions. She's brilliant, he's brilliant, and they've been through stuff. This was the picture. They clipped it off our website, and that was Nancy bailed on me, and she wasn't there, but good advertising anyway. So this was just advertising that I'd be speaking there. This is looking out. They built a beautiful church that's made to look like a very large house. They live in it. They sold their apartment and gave all the money so they could build this building. And they didn't want it to look like a church because they're under so much pressure from the Georgian Orthodox Church. There's Orthodox churches, Russian Orthodox, Georgian Orthodox, the Roman Catholic, the Greek Orthodox. And I'm just telling you, you have no idea, not only of the power that they wield, but in Georgia, they are literally tied in with the mafia. And I'm talking corrupt, dangerous, exactly like the Pharisees were at the time of Christ. I'm going to play something for you that I think will blow your mind. It's 3 stories. I was staying up above in a very nice, the work they did on this building is amazing. It's like a miracle how money came and they actually own it. And Zal had never designed anything. He said, I just lived on YouTube all day, all night, trying to learn how to design a building, and it turned out beautifully. But this was looking out my window on the Georgia countryside. Whoops. That's a little closer up, a little store there. Georgia's actually a place that many struggling expats are moving to because it's very inexpensive to live, very safe. Interesting. This was the home group that they invited me to the first night, and when I look at the faces and know what they've come through living under Russian rule, 800,000 Georgians were killed when the Trotsky, Lenin, and then Stalin were trying to establish Georgia as a communist nation. They wanted to be independent. Slaughter, just horrific. They are the most hospitable people I think I've ever. You cannot say no. The first lunch, beautiful, organic food. I kid you not, it was Zal and I, and there was food for 20 people. And I said, what are you doing? This is what we do. You must have, and there were like 5 courses. This is what we do. They're lovely people. It's not a big church. This was, and you have no idea, some of this, that bread, if I could get the lady over here to make it, no, she could retire in a year. It's the best thing I've ever tasted. There's nothing like it. Never eat another cardboard, what do they call those Mexican things you always get? No, you used to get them. Quesadillas. Hit the road quesadillas. I mean, Anyway, this was the apartment from Russian times. You get this whole feeling of how dead and horrific communism really is. It's just death. That was in the parking lot as I was walking up to the apartment. That's a former rat, about this big. Life is not easy for many believers around the world. I just had to take that picture, sorry. I wanted you to know I was not laying by the pool on this trip, trust me. That's a picture of Zal looking down, and that building, can I do this? I did it for a moment. Well, at any rate, that yellowish building, see the one with the metal reddish roof right past that to the left? That's their church, that kind of large yellow right there. That's their church. He's a very quiet man, but I didn't know how strong he was. I didn't know how tired he was. This is a picture of their prince. Georgia was a very powerful nation. They ruled a large area, Turkey, and major area back in like 11, 12, 1300s. I went to the museum there in Tbilisi, the most beautiful, outrageous gold jewelry that's hundreds and hundreds of years old. Never seen anything like it. Actually, supposedly, Jason and the Argonauts, the Golden Fleece, was Georgia. Because of the gold work, if you saw it, it's awesome. This is a young couple that I spent the day with. It was supposed to be a day off. This is Renee, a young man from America, raised Roman Catholic, and this is his beautiful wife. She's from Georgia. Amazing couple. And I believe God has very great things for them. Renee's a fairly new Christian, and as soon as he got saved, he was hungry. He started searching as a Roman Catholic. His room had icons, pictures of Mary, rosaries. And the more he searched, he started reading the Bible, and it's like, none of this makes sense. And he started asking the priest until the priest said, stop asking these questions. You don't need to know those things. Trust the church. And right after that, a man walked into the bank where he was working in California. He's second generation Hispanic, and said something. Oh, his name was Isaac. And Renee said, are you a Christian? He said, yes. He took him under his wing, began to mentor him, but I could tell as he told me more and more, they were a very kind of legalistic, unique, but they did teach him much, a great foundation. But he was so hungry to hear U.S. English, he just talked my ear off all day. And I love these guys, and you'll see him a little bit later. Pray for them. I believe they're there purposefully. This is not easy ground. This is hard ground in Georgia. But I believe God is getting ready to move there. I had to play you this. Thank you. I gave Kathy a bunch of little clips, and she put them together. I'll give you the background real quickly. They decided as a small, newer church to go out on the street 3 nights, evenings, before Easter. This was about 1998, 99. And sing on the street and preach. And their constitution says you have freedom of religion and freedom of speech in public. So they started singing, and crowds gathered, and they were preaching. And some Orthodox folks were not happy, and they called the police. And on the 3rd night, they came with a lot of police, some plain clothes, and as Nino, his wife, was speaking, this lady is courageous and strong. Very quiet in person, but strong. And one of the highest police, I think, in Georgia came up and started talking to him. You'll hear it. They got it all on video just because they would video when they go out to minister. And he grabs the microphone from her, And she says, no, give it back to me. What you're doing is illegal. And he has had a gun. He said, shut up, you stupid woman. I can kill all of you right now if I want to. Totally against the law. And an old lady was hit and knocked down. Zali was hit with a shovel, injured his eye. And so that's the background. They brought an action against the police, and they went through 7 trials all the way up to the Supreme Court, and because of them, and none of the churches stood with them. This was so grotesque, and I'm going to say this publicly. He was an Assembly of God pastor, and the Assembly of God took their story all around the United States, getting churches to give money to help them. They didn't get one dime. They sent it to all the other major pastors there that would not stand with them because they were trying to get along with the government, and were actually fighting against them, and they never got one dime, and no churches stood with them. But alone, they got the laws changed in Georgia at the Supreme Court to allow freedom of religion out in public for the first time, even though it was on the books, but never challenged, because nobody challenges the Orthodox Church. It's part and parcel with the police, the government, the mafia. It's a horrific place to get. Remember, Jesus said the Pharisees were guilty of murder, stealing from widows. It's that same religious spirit, and you'll get to see it. It's so far out, it looks like some church did a production that was kind of over the top, like not really realistic. When you see this priest, they defrocked him so they could distance themselves and say, well, he's not an Orthodox priest. He's been defrocked, so that he could do his thing without saying there was an attachment to the Orthodox Church. Oh, wait a minute. You know what? Why don't you guys play it? Because it's not working. I don't know what. That's that very high policeman with the white hair. This is that priest with the red hat on. Can we turn those top lights off, please? I just want to pause it. Hopefully you can start up from there. I just want to say, maybe you can move it forward to where we were. Notice the similarity of the arguments. I just want to say this. The trial of Christ, you'll start hearing this intense pressure to the judge right in his courtroom. If you don't arrest them, if you don't put them out of the country, you are not a friend of Georgia. He's threatening them, exactly like the trial of Christ. You're not a friend of Caesar. Yeah, I don't know if it can. Yeah. This is their attorney, this woman. She was brilliant. Can you believe that? Right in the courtroom, a large banner saying Orthodox or death. Just like the Pharisees, they gathered totally false witnesses. Many were not even there, and said they had a whole list. They kept that banner in there, Orthodox or death. This is a spirit working in that same religious spirit as 2,000 years ago. Perhaps we can move it ahead just a little bit. I have a lot more, and I realize time is, this is a legal team from the U.S. or Britain, not Amnesty International, but a legal, and they just shouted them down, wouldn't even let them talk. They came to help. Crucify him. I just want to say they showed clear video that you saw of the violations, everything, showed it in court. So the judge ruled against pastorzaali and Nino, and they had to go through 6 more trials up to the Supreme Court. This is a second trial. Listen to the wording. They ended up on national TV multiple times, and the TV media were favorable to them because the nation is very tired of the control the church has over everything.
დღეს ჩვენს საფეხურზე მე ვფიქრობ არის მეტად მნიშვნელოვანი საკითხი განსახილველი.
Khizanishvili, Evangelical ეკლესია. მე ვფიქრობ, რომ უაღრესად საჭირო და საჭირო კითხვა არის, თუ რა არის სამოქალაქო საზოგადოება.
თანასწორობა და აღმსარებლობის თავისუფლება ამ ბოლო დროს სულ უფრო ხშირად ირღვევა.
Შემიძლია ვთქვათ, რომ ეს მოვლენა არ არის არც ქართული და არც მართლმადიდებლური მოვლენა. მაგრამ არის პიროვნებები, რომლებსაც არ უშლიან ხელს, არამედ პირდაპირ ხელს უწყობენ იმისათვის, რომ ასეთი პრობლემები შეიქმნას ქვეყანაში.
This is sort of a 60 minutes for Georgia.
თუმცა აქვე მინდა აღნიშნო, რომ ბოლომდე ჩემთვის გაუგებარი არის სახელმწიფოს პოზიცია ამ კუთხით, იმიტომ რომ ჩვენ ხედავთ, რომ მართლმადიდებლური ინსტიტუციაში ეს შეკრებები გრძელდება ასეთი სახით და სახელმწიფოს არ აქვს გარკვეული პოზიცია, ჩვენ ვერ გავიგებთ.
What I didn't mention, once they escaped the 7 trials with the police and built their building, the Orthodox Church immediately came and tried to seize their property, and they had to go through 5 more trials to protect their building. They came, said, it's ours, they're not a real religion, they're not Georgians, it's our property. So that's why it's saying during the pandemic, because this was in 1998 that they went through the first 7, and then much later after they built this building,
სახელმწიფო მოხელეები თავიანთ ინტერპრეტაციას ეს არ არის სწორი. სახელმწიფო მოხელეებს აქვთ კონსტიტუცია და კონსტიტუცია.
there's much more. Can we pause there? I thought this, well, can you move it ahead if you would? I can't, well, I think that's just for time's sake. Kathy. We'll post it and you can watch a much longer version.
Jamie, is this a large city or a small city?
Tbilisi is very large, probably, I would guess, 1 million people or some 900,000. It's the capital, beautiful city, old, ancient. So let's see, can we move forward now? I think you have control. And I have a spirit of control. No, I'm kidding. So one more, just real quick. I'm not going to play much of this. Zali said, hey, we'd like you to record with this Renee. He can ask you questions. And he gave me this whole list of questions. And one of them, dealing with God and Christ. And I said, that might be kind of controversial. No, I want you. So I talked for 45 minutes. And they have about 5,000 people in Georgia, Evangelical, Pentecostal, because they've become very famous now, and pastors have come to recognize they hold him very high because he stood all by himself and changed the laws in their country. God did, but so I thought I'd play you. They've had up to 8,000 people watch their podcast, which is a lot for Georgia. So this is just a tiny taste. It went for about 2 hours. Can you just play, we'll play like 1 minute of it just so you.
Be more of a personal question because I was wondering myself.
Can you turn it way up?
Is it better to have no expectations than to have positive expectations? Because if you have positive expectations, there's room for letdown. But if you have no expectations, then you don't have to worry if trials, good, bad, nothing. Because you don't expect anything. But I was wondering if that goes against God's word to not expect things from him.
Do you want me to lie to you or tell you the truth?
Tell me the truth.
I believe with all my heart that to have no expectations
Yes.
is the opposite of the ways of God.
Right.
And just think of this one verse in Hebrews 11. It says, without faith, believing God for the things we just talked about, joy and peace and enough to get by. And without faith, it doesn't say it's hard to please God. It says it's impossible to please God. And here's what I love to tell our church. But with faith, think about it, it's possible to please God. With faith, it's possible to please him. And so, if all through the Bible we see that people that ask God for large things, God, defeat this army, God, come. That's very unusual. I noticed I was using my hands. I never do that usually when I speak, but that was... it really was very powerful. I felt God's Spirit. And they didn't ask me softball questions. These are going out, and they don't get a lot of teaching in Georgia. And people are listening because they know the Spirit of God is on this couple, and he protected them and through all that.